it's Donna here from Clever Crafters, and thank you so much for joining me again. I say that so often, it's great. Anyway, look, I have just gathered together some of the scraps that I've already produced from the 6x6 pack for the 12 cards in 12 days challenge that I've set myself. And I decided to try and keep a hold on my scraps that are forming. So what I'm doing here is I'm just cutting at some of these, and these are actually 1 1/4 inch by 1 1/4 inch square, which is about 3 centimeters by 3 centimeters, just over 3 centimeters by 3 centimeters anyway. And I cut some strips and I cut them into little squares, 5 different ones. What I'm doing here is just attaching a little bit of ribbon to the back of them. I'm actually going to make presents. You can see there that I've already made, I did that off camera earlier, some little bows. And I'm just using sticky tape to attach these ribbons to the back of these pieces of paper. And all of a sudden, they're no longer scraps cut into little squares. They're going to be little presents, which is really sweet. Anyway, so I'm just showing you how I do that. Just fold it over. I don't wrap it all the way around. I just find it easier to attach it at the top and the bottom. Okay, so now that I've done all of those, I'm going to cut out a matte layer for my patterned paper, and I'm going to cut out a piece for my patterned paper. So you can see that I'm using the metric rectangles again here. So for the green, I use the second largest metric rectangle, and for this one I am using the third largest, and because I want it right in the corner, I'm lining it up there so it's cutting the exact area that I want. So I've cut both of those out now, and then what I did is I cut a rectangle out of the center of the green because I'm trying to conserve a little bit of my colored card, and no one's going to see that section on the card, so I decided to cut it out and use it for another project. So I went ahead and off camera I cut 2 strips, and these of course can be any size that you have or any size that you want, but I've cut the green strip at about 1 7/8 of an inch wide, and then it's going the width of my paper, which was it'll actually be 13.8 centimeters, so maybe I should work in centimeters or inches. But anyway, so centimeters, the green one is 4.8 tall, and the white one is 4.5. So one's just a little bit bigger than the other. And then you can see that what I did is I ran the white one through an embossing folder. So that's of mistletoe. It's a beautiful embossing folder. And I am sticking them onto the patterned paper that I have chosen for my card. Just layering them up and trimming them off. So they will finish nice and neatly at the end of the pattern paper, which is exactly what I was after. So now I am just putting glue on the back of my little presents. You can see that I haven't added the bows yet, but I'm just going to put these on my strip. The whole idea is to have the 5 little gifts on my strip there. So I did the same with those first 3, and now I am just going to use a sticky dot and my ribbon with the sticky. This is my little bow. So I think I had a fight with this one, if I remember correctly. I'm pretty sure that it just didn't want to do its job. Oh dear. Sometimes watching these back is hilarious, but yeah, here we go. Sometimes, the little dot just doesn't want to land in the right place, and sometimes it's good for me to leave these little challenges in the video so you can see them. You'd be surprised at the number I cut out though. Anyway, so I'm just popping that bow into place, and then I'm going to do the same on the other 2. Pretty sure I'm not going to make you watch through the whole lot of those because that's a little bit painful to watch. But you get my meaning about what you do. Nice and easy. So now we're going on to the 2 top ones. So the 2 that I had left, I'm going to position obviously over the top of those other ones, and I'm just putting one layer of that foam tape, which is only 1 mil thick, the double-sided foam tape that I get from Bunnings, which is the hardware store here in Australia. So then you've just got to position them over the top. Now I ended up cutting a chunk of this out because obviously you need to be really precise with your randomness on this. Because, kind of having a random pattern is a good thing, but, anyway, I cut it out, and you'll have a look and see the results in a moment. So now I am just putting some of that Smart Art glue right on the edge of that pattern paper and going to stick it onto the matte piece, which is basically a frame. And you can see that just makes a lovely green, a tiny little green border around the outside. It looks beautiful. And then that is going to get stuck totally on my card base if I can find it. There it is. So that's just a standard A6 card base in white, folded in half, but A5 folded in half. And it gives me that lovely little border. So I've actually left my stamping in, which, as you know, I don't very often do, but I wanted to show you, I'm actually stamping this with a Distress Oxide. It's Pine Needles Distress Oxide ink, which match my green beautifully. And the reason that I'm showing this is because I'm actually going to heat emboss it, because I did want it nice and sealed, and heat embossing will make it just a wee bit darker. So I've stamped my Merry Christmas out of the same stamp set that we've been using for all of them so far. And as long as you're fairly quick, you can use then clear embossing powder and go over the top. So the reason that this works is because the Distress Oxide, being a hybrid ink, has some properties that make it sit on top of your paper for a little bit longer, which makes it great for blending, and it also makes it suitable, as long as you're fast, for heat embossing. This, of course, then eliminates you having to have a whole pile of different embossing powders, because you can just use the Distress Oxide inks. So now I'm just using the various greetings die set, which of course line up and match all of those stamps beautifully. And I am going to just make sure that that goes in place exactly where I want it over what I've stamped. I'm just going to secure that down with a little bit of washi tape or pre-loved masking tape, whatever it is that I'm using there, and run that through my Cuttlebug. And the results are fabulous, because here is my perfectly cut greeting, which is lovely. Of course, I like to, zhuzh just a little bit. So I'm going to put a fishtail banner on one end. So this is going to be the end where Merry starts, and I'm going to line it up on the other end on my card. So I'll be keeping the other end flat. In actual fact, I think I might trim the other end. We'll have a look. We'll see in a second. Whoop. Clearly fumble fingers today. So I'd like to take this opportunity while we're watching me fumble around and do that to thank you for following me on this series. It really helps if you hit the like button, of course, if you liked it, or if you subscribe. What would really help at this point for my little channel is if you shared it with your friends or on your Facebook pages yourselves. So that might, increase our subscriptions, which would help me out immensely. All right, so I've just put some double-sided foam tape on the back. Once again, I've just put one layer of the 1mm tape. Keeps it, quite flat, but with a little bit dimension. It's kind of the best of both worlds, which is terrific. And you did see that I just trimmed off the end of that greeting, so it was totally straight. I just didn't want quite as much of the white, and I'm going to line it up on my card and stick it on. Perfect. So nice and easy. Look at that lovely simple Christmas card. Once again, another one great for making in bulk. Anyway, once again, I really, really hope that you've enjoyed this today and that you've learned something. I'd love you to give this a try. And if you do, to post it on our Facebook page. We've got a lovely group of supportive ladies, and it'd be great if you wanted to join us, or at least have a look at some other people's ideas. I'll be back tomorrow night with day 5 for 12 days, 12 Christmas cards. Until then, stay safe and happy crafting.